Hello and welcome to episode 97 of the Grove podcast. My name is Tabs and hope you're doing okay on what is, I'd suggest, for Arsenal fans, a very, very sad day, as last night we were knocked out of the Champions League by PSG, 3-1 on aggregate. And we're not on our way, and I'm not on my way to Munich to face Inter Milan. So, talking of which, I must remember to cancel my hotel, so which I had booked in anticipation. But there we go, and I'm sure many other Arsenal fans did. Anyway, joining me today to discuss and help us get through the disappointment of last night's game is Ian, aka Ask Cannon Picks. How are you? And how have you been able to distract yourself from last night's result?
I'm good, Tabs. It's good to be back. I'm actually in good form. I'm in upbeat form. I'm determined to make today's pod a celebration of our run in the Champions League rather than a wake. And yeah, I'm surprisingly upbeat because the future's bright, and we'll talk about that today. The future's very bright.
Okay, good. I'm pleased to hear it. No, I'm not too bad. I guess thinking about it and then looking at it, and I'm a bit of a glass half full type of guy, and all the rest of it. So yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, we'll get onto that. And as much as many people don't want to relive it, it wouldn't be much of a podcast if we didn't. So we're going to be looking back at the 2-1 loss to PSG before having to. Well, we don't have to, but before ending with a bit of a preview of the Liverpool game this Sunday, which is, I'm sure, filling some people with a bit of dread, and I'm not sure too many people are eagerly awaiting that game and what lies ahead. But let's see what happens around that. So there we go. So anyway, as for PSG, and as we do, Ian. So what was your highlight, if you can find one, from last night's game, last night's result, and your low light?
Yeah, I'm probably going to rob your highlight. I just think that the start that we had, like everybody was saying that we were going to have to, face 20. If we can stay in the game for 20 minutes, and we're going to face a deluge of PSG pressure. And look, that came eventually, but the first 15 minutes belonged to us, and that really really encouraged me. And I thought, for this kind of young Arsenal team, I think they did really really well. So that was my highlight. Unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of the 15 minutes. The low light, God, a few to pick from, but I would pick, even though it came to nothing in the end, was that ridiculous penalty that the referee gave. Well, VAR gave, even though nobody in the ground was looking for it. That really annoyed me. But thankfully they missed the penalty, and we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, they were my low lights and highlights.
No, we will indeed. We'll touch on the penalty, and we'll touch on your highlight there for sure. Actually, that wasn't my highlight. Well, actually, no, it was. Actually, I did put down here first 15 minutes, but I did have a backup one, and that's the fact that, because we're not going to Munich, I'm going to be saving a bit of cash, because flights, drinking, I was going to get the home shirt, all the rest of it. So it's saving my money for next year's season ticket and next year's away trips in Europe. So I guess if I have to get a bit of a silver lining, is that it's not going to cost me a fortune getting to Munich and enjoying that. But small chinks. Small gratitudes, because I'm sure I was ready to splash the cash to go and see us take part in Munich. But there we go.
And do you know how else, before you go onto your low light, do you know what else is going to save Arsenal fans a lot of money by not qualifying last night? The fact that our new Pope is called Leo, and the whole stat of every time a Pope dies, an English team wins the Champions League. We all would have bet our wages on Leo Trossard scoring the winner in the final. We would, and
absolutely.
So that's a little thing to be grateful for. We'll all still own our houses by the time it's done.
Indeed we do. As for my low light, one. Just one thing, Donna fucking Rumour. he's my low light, that giant divey Italian goalkeeping bastard. Now look, I love him, and I loved him when Italy won the Euros, the 2020 Euros in 21. He was player of the tournament, I believe, and as an Italian by heritage, he was a star for me and the rest of the Italian squad. But come on, give it a rest, really. Can't you just flop, not reach anything, get out of the way? Yeah, so he was a bit of a low light for me. He for me was the primary difference over the two games, and to be honest, I think without his heroics, and it was the same I think against Villa, it would have could have been a very different story. So he's
Yeah.
my low light. His unfortunately impressive performance was the low light
Yeah,
for me.
it helps being 8'9" and have arms like Mr. Tickle. It makes me sick.
Indeed, it does. So look, the lineup, given that the team, the the fitness of the players, there was no surprises that what we went with in terms of Raya, Timber, Saliba, Kivior, and Lewis Skelly at the back, Partey, Rice, Odegaard in midfield, and Martinelli, Saka, Marino up front. It was good to see Calafiori on the bench and surprised to see Jorginho there, but I think he was just there doing an extensive coaching role, but out of the technical area because he's allowed to be trained running up and down the side of the pitch. So, but yeah, no surprises. Partey was back, and despite him being involved in their two goals, I think he made our midfield better. Um, and but that was it. So I'm not going to go into the lineup because it was pretty much what we wanted, what we expected, and all we really could put out there. So in terms of the game itself, the numbers were good for us. The stats were good. I mean, our XG for the game was 2.91 to their 1.74. We had 19 shots, which is the most PSG have given up in a match all season. Unfortunately, only 4 of those were on target. We missed 4 big chances. Well, we had 4 big chances and missed 3 of them. But yeah, in general, the stats were in our favour. The momentum was in our favour, but we just couldn't get over the line. So, look, in terms of your overall thoughts on the game, the performance, yeah, what did you think? How did it make you feel? How did you feel beforehand, before, during, and after?
Yeah, I thought we played. It was a very typical of this season kind of game where we dominated. We played really, really well, created chances, couldn't for the life of us put the ball in the back of the net. It's on one of the biggest stages as well, the Champions League semi-final away from home in a very partisan stadium. We could have froze, but we didn't, but as is typical of our season, some mistakes cost us, some very, very silly mistakes, just misplaced passes. And when you have an opposition of the caliber of PSG and the attacking prowess that they have, it's you get punished with them. And as usual, the goals that they score are very low XG. We've spoken on the pod before about, when we concede goals, it's just, we get punished to the max, and it happened again. The Saliba deflection. It just I was so proud. I genuinely my overall, once I kind of got over the disappointment of the defeat and being knocked out, I had genuine pride of the team and what they achieved this season and in these 2 games. And yeah, I cannot give out about them at all. Obviously, you can give out about some individual mistakes, but overall, I think they played amazing. I thought they were very good.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, for me, I mean, after each match, I normally put out a post on Threads and Blue Sky, sort of call it an immediate response, just to give an immediate reaction to the game I've just watched, and this is what I wrote. A semi-final of margins, missed chances, and great goalkeeping, which didn't go our way. We can be proud of our Champions League efforts, and we've had amazing results. Ultimately, a disappointing exit to a very good team, where despite our best efforts, our limitations caught up with us. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can fix this. C'est la vie. Come on, you Gunners. And look, that was my immediate response. And upon further reflection, I pretty much stand by that. I mean, it brings up a number of talking points and lots of elements to the match. I mean, the tie and our season as a whole. But yeah, I guess that's what I feel. I said it was fine margins, missed chances, great goalkeeping. Things go a different way. We're in the final, and PSG are out. But also last night shouldn't deflect. And I think after we go through the game, we'll look at the bigger picture. But it shouldn't deflect on the progress we've made in the Champions League and just the amazing results we've had, considering everything that we've had to go through. So,
Exactly.
I guess the one thing, if I do dwell on it, is a bit of frustration. Just about missing out and missing chances, but also, the discourse. I think we were chatting to it beforehand, and just now the discourse around the tie and the result. It's can be quite toxic. It's very, very over the top, in my opinion. Big reactions, and I'm not. That's not who I am. I can't get on board with it, and look, I can appreciate it, but I disagree with a lot of it, and I guess with last night, I didn't get too angry, too annoyed, because it was a bit of a slow death. I think we knew, even with the Saka missed chance, we could tell that it wasn't happening. We weren't going to get back into it, and unlike the Barcelona game, it wasn't that sort of crazy game. There wasn't just that feeling that something might happen. But just one question for you, and this might be a positive, because Barcelona went out on Tuesday and we went out on Wednesday. Does that mean they finished fourth and we finished third?
Yes, I'll take it. Bronze medal, give it to me.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So look, you alluded to it. The key moments in terms of the game in the first half, that first 15 minutes was superb. And we really put them on the back foot. And there's some stats from it. Like, we had 73.2% possession. The field tilt was 98%. We had 8 touches in the box. We had 5 shots, 1 big chance, and also, what did you think of our style of play? Because I think we were also very direct, and we had Thomas Rory Delap Party on duty. So, and actually throughout the whole game, like, we attempted 17. Well, actually, in the first half, we attempted 17 crosses. So, like, what was your sort of feeling from that first 15 minutes? Were you thinking, "Oh, right, oh, geez, we've got this. I think we can get this," or was it a case of, if we don't take our chances, you got that nagging feeling that we can't sustain it?
Yeah, like the first leg, there were periods like PSG. It was the opposite in the first leg. PSG were on top, but there were periods of the Arsenal, or the first leg, where Arsenal were the better team, but we just couldn't put the ball in the net. And as the chances came and went, I was just pleading that we would put one of them away. We completely deserved at least one, if not 2 of them, to go in. And like, if one of them goes in, if we equalise in the first, because the first 2 chances were like after 5 or 6 minutes, we had 2 good chances, and you're thinking, right now, all of a sudden, we say to PSG, "How do you like that?" And the game changes. So, again, really, really proud. That 98% field tilt stat is incredible. That's mental. And I take a lot of heart for our future that we can go away, like I said, in a cauldron of an atmosphere in the semi-final of a Champions League and do that, when everybody outside of Arsenal, and even some within Arsenal, thought that we would have to keep PSG at bay for half an hour and then try and maybe sneak a chance. But it was the complete opposite. I was very proud of that first 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, I'm the amount of times I fell off my sofa and was banging the floor. But yeah, like, the first big chance, came to Rice. PSG lost it, and a nice timber cross, and it was headed wide from 6 yards out. And this was one that, if it was on target, Donnarumma ain't getting that. And you could see Rice's reaction, and that was like, was that the chance? And then on 4th minute, Martinelli sort of had a chance, and Donnarumma saves it. I think it hits him rather than saving it, off his knee. And then save of the century. I don't know, maybe I've been a bit hyperbolic about, but what a shot. Odegaard from just outside the box. He smashed a low shot volley. How the keeper gets to it. Again, there, you literally were saying you had the G of goal in your mouth, ready to celebrate, and it was sort of like, what?
he didn't even
Go on.
see that when you watch that from behind the goal. He didn't see that until it went past his defender, and his defender was probably halfway between him and the Odegaard shot. Like how he got down that quick, I'll never know. It was an incredible save. I was talking to a Liverpool fan today, one of my customers. I rang him, and as he answered, I said, "I'll give you 30 seconds to slag me. Go on, go for it." And he actually, he said, "This is a Liverpool fan." He said, no. He said, I actually think we were very unlucky, and it was heartening to hear Liverpool fans say that. But when we were talking about the first 15 minutes, like we are now, he said
Yeah.
that, like he said, his words were when that Odegaard one was saved. He said, I felt that one myself. He said because he thought that was a goal, like all of us, the whole world did.
Yeah, I just saw it. That's going in, and so many things with that goal. What it would have done for us to go 1-0 up, then and then see how PSG will react, and they'll be under pressure, and they're at
Yeah,
home, and they've got a history of messing up in semi-finals, and it just changes the whole dynamic. But also for Odegaard, from him personally, not that he would care about this, but him personally, what that would mean for him, and because he's been through a bit of heat recently, so
yeah.
just and look again, this sums out, that's just the way that the game goes. And look, Donnarumma's allowed to be a goalkeeper. Like, as much as players outfield are allowed to be brilliant and score brilliant goals, that's his job. And look, if you look at what Raya did to us at the beginning of the season, he's kept us in games, kept us in matches, and that's their job. It's just sometimes you think, oh geez, man, you know, just something go
Let one
away.
in, yeah.
Yeah,
And
let one.
and
Yeah,
look, you look at their first goal, like it's just a pot shot essentially from the edge of the box. It deflects off Saliba and goes in. Like if any defender gets a nick on that Odegaard shot, Donnarumma's not saving that. And you're
no.
talking like the ball flew past a few defenders, was probably an inch or two away from taking a nick. And they're the fine lines, they're the margins that you spoke about. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking when it doesn't go your way.
I think credit has to go to PSG. They rode it out.
Yeah,
They sort of hung on, and it just again, it's very similar to the first leg, you know, but without with a different outcome. You know, they managed to survive. They hung on, and they gradually got their way back into it. I mean, I never thought we'd be able to sustain it and stuff. So that's why I think all Arsenal fans felt that, as well as, wow, this has been a great start, we needed to have capitalised on this, or
yeah,
we needed to have scored. And not in terms of a criticism of the team, why haven't you scored? But then again, Rice's chance was a pretty big. It's more a case of, oh, if we'd have scored, just changes everything. And then they come back into it. You know, the Georgian had a shot off the far post and had Ryan beaten. And then on the 23rd minute, there was a mistake by Saliba, and Doué has a bit of a tame shot. And then I can't remember if that's the one that Rice got back and tackled on it. I mean, I think he might have done an amazing sort of chase back on that one. I'm not too sure. And then PSG, the 27th minute, take the lead. You know, and again, this is where I think we were the sort of part of our own downfall. So Rice takes a heavy touch, gives away a free kick, gets a yellow card. Free kick comes in, and we sort of deal with it, but Partey heads it out. And I'm not going to be too down on. Well, he's falling backwards, so how much of a header he can get away, I don't know. And you know, and so he heads it back to Ruiz on the edge of the box. He does well to bypass Martinelli, takes a swing at it, great hit, and we all thought an amazing goal and said, well, what can you do? But then when you look at the replays, it just perfectly hits Saliba enough to curl into the goal, and those are the sort of the margins. And
yeah,
Arsenal is always a very helpful team. That's his
yeah,
first goal in Champions League football in 40 matches. So
yeah.
yeah, and then you can see it lifts their confidence, and we drop our intensity, we drop our heads a little bit. You think we've tried to do everything we can, and still we're losing one
1-0, yeah.
nil.
If,
And
if you're being if you're being hypercritical, and I don't share this view, Athletic Bilbao have gone 1-0 up against Man United.
come
If
on, the
you're being
comeback is on.
it's on. if you're being hypercritical, yes, what you're saying about Partey, but I think the ball's too low. Because I was thinking, could he have headed the ball, say, out for a corner or something? But he couldn't have done that. It would have been a weird thing to do because there was
Yeah.
nobody around him. So I think, I don't think there's much else he could have done. And you could say, and this is very harsh, and I'm nearly hesitant to not say it. You could say that had Saliba stayed square, like had he not turned his body, like if he had stood up, and now I wouldn't have because I'm a coward. But had he stayed square, it might hit him he might end up with a very sore rib or something. But but that's hyper critical.
Yeah, no, I do. But anyway, so 1-0, and it's like, okay, again, we're not out of it, but I think all fans were thinking, okay, we needed to get 2 goals. Fine, we'll take it to extra time. I think that, the 2 goals takes us to extra time. So again, we're still not down and out. But and this is the one, sorry, where Rice did an amazing job tracking back. So on the 30th minute, PSG go through 2-on-1. The Georgian and Barcola, steps inside and has a bit of a tame shot, but I think Rice puts him off. So again, we could that would have been game over, and that would have been, oh God, do we turn off? Do what happened? All of a sudden, but we were just, I wouldn't say hanging on, but we gave them chances, and I think there was an interesting. So this was also came from an MLS giveaway, and how he shields the ball and look, it's great when it works. Look, and we love it, and we love the how we say
the bravery of it.
The bravery, and you live by the sword and die by the sword. But I think it was 4 times, either in the first half or throughout the whole game, that it didn't quite come off, and then PSG maybe were targeting it. So I think it's part of his development. So again, not going to call him out, but part of his development is to know when to do it and when not to do it, what part of the field to do it, circumstances and things like that. So I think yesterday was a big learning experience for him yesterday. It wasn't his best game, and again, his best is he still had a decent game, but just I think elements of showing maybe the occasion and some inexperience where you just think, okay, I'll just knock it back and just we recycle. So so there we go. And then really not much else happens. I think an example of where we are at the moment. Saka in the 43rd minute had a low cross. Marino tried to get a toe to it, and it sort of deflected it, and then there was nobody anticipating at the far post to sort of knock it in. Well, partly because Marino was the one that sort of Saka was engaged with, but there wasn't Martinelli coming in at the back post to do that. So
and that's where you miss that instinctual striker to be running in somewhere along the line to just die to get a goal. So
it's that selfish bastard gene. I'm just going to be wherever I can so I can score goals. So look, I would say a decent first half. I think unlucky to be 1-0 down, but a bit like the first game could have been worse, and there we go. So it sounds all familiar, and then we get to the second half. And I just wanted to again just touch on to again we had Partey doing those long throws, and then we started off the second half. There was a couple of free kicks, and then inside our own half, and Raya was doing them. So I mean, how did you find those sort of Stoke-esque tactics? Do you think it was the right thing? Did you think maybe we did it too much? I don't know. How were you feeling about that?
I think Arteta, pointed to their defence and maybe some high balls. Like if they have a weakness, that's where it is. We know they're excellent elsewhere, and Arteta identified that as one of their weaknesses and decided to go big with it. Arsenal did do it too often. Like even the first few, throw-ins, the long Rory party throw-ins, where you know one of them was the Martinelli chance. Like, so
yeah,
at the start it kind of worked, but PSG then got comfortable with it. Like, there was a couple at the very end, like when it was 2-1,
mm,
where we got a few throw-ins down on the left-hand side in a row, and I was begging them not to just lump it in, because it hadn't worked for
mm,
like since that Martinelli chance. So I was surprised, not surprised that they tried it, but I was surprised that they kept it up for the whole game.
yeah,
That was my take on it. It was just strange to see us kind of develop that tactic in a
yeah.
game so big.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was thinking before the game we need to go full Stoke, as in turn them. Again, there was that meant to be that vulnerability at the back. If we're playing in front of them, yeah, that's where we wanted to nullify their press. Right, fine. You just go over the top. Long balls over the top, turn the defense, win the second balls. Just because, again, if we're playing around in front of them, they're very good at pressing. They're intense with that, and they can put us under pressure that way. So, but I think it was just maybe we needed to vary it a bit. Once the throw-in stopped working, let's throw-ins, Arsenal throw-ins. Jesus, it's always a fun topic. But yeah, just maybe try something different or vary it up. And because you're right, I think they got comfortable with it. And it started to lose its effectiveness. I think the first 15 minutes, everything was a surprise. They didn't know how to handle it, and it took them a while to get going. Once they got themselves organised, then it was fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, an interesting take, but maybe vary it a bit more. So, and then in the 64th minute, Donna fucking Ruma again. What again? Uh, we're right behind it. I'm watching on TV, right behind it, but we're all thinking top corner goal. Saka has a brilliant effort, and then just he gets fingertips to it, and like, wow, just
Yeah, and the reaction, we saw Saka kind of just looking and saying, like, what, basically saying, what the fuck is what's happening here?
yeah.
When you see a
What more
player
can I
react
do?
like that, it's a great save.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what more can he do? Okay, other than score, but bloody hell, what an effort, and what a save, and then there was an interesting period. So soon after that, playing around in the box, Saka's in the box, and then it feels like he's sort of taken down, but nothing happens, and it plays on until Hakimi has a shot which sort of goes into the arms of Raya, and then all of a sudden, I mean, me and my son were talking, like saying, well, surely that if it's a penalty against Saka, they just stop it. And he goes, oh, no, it's when a stoppage in play, and it sort of seemed to go on for ages, and then all of a sudden on 66 minutes, oh, there's a VAR stoppage. They're checking for a pen. Oh, that must be the Saka foul.
Mm.
Nope. Uh, no, and before we get on to what it was for, have you actually seen any replays of that Saka foul? Because they didn't show any on
No,
TV, and I couldn't find anything. I mean, I didn't look too hard, but I didn't see anything come up on the socials. So
No, I think that's what, when, like the rest of the Arsenal fan base, when the referee did the square box gesture, I thought it was for Saka. But in my mind, like, even in real time, it didn't look like a foul at all. Like, I think Saka, the ball just bounced off him, I think. But I was thinking, oh, are we going to get a really
okay,
soft, Champions League penalty here? Well, somebody did, but it wasn't bloody us. Because nobody,
yeah,
nobody,
no,
nobody,
so
just say nobody knows. The handball rule in the Champions League is just a farce, and nobody knows what it is anymore. But yeah, it was awful, awful.
yeah, I mean, look, VAR did its job. Okay, so actually, VAR did its job perfectly well. It worked because an infringement happened that was missed by the referee, and according to the laws of the game, that's a penalty. So VAR did its job. So my issue is not with VAR.
Yeah, they
My
they,
issue
they
is
were
with
they were right. Yeah.
is the rule is bullshit. It's like it had no material impact on the shot. Now, granted, if it hit it and deflected it, stopping it from going into the goal, then fine. But it was just literally brushed it on its way. There was no real change in trajectory. It was just sort of like, yeah, and nothing. And we also had a similar penalty against Inter where it was just sort of like either shot at him, like, from a yard away, and it's just sort of like basically anything that touches the hand irrespective. And look, we they give the penalty, and what can you do? I think that really needs to be looked at, because it's
Yeah,
just
definitely.
it's just
Yeah,
nonsense.
it's the rule. It's the rule rather than the VAR on the night
Yeah,
that we should have a problem with.
yeah. But then we were given a lifeline. I mean, what a terrible penalty! And for once, Raya didn't dive half an hour earlier, and because he didn't, Vitinha with his slow run up trying to sell a dummy, just Raya was just looking at him, going, "Go on then," and then shit run up, shit pen, and Raya just, I was actually disappointed that Raya didn't actually catch the ball instead of tipping it around for a corner.
Yeah, he could have. Yeah,
But
the Vitinha's run up was he looked like an old man trying to run to a bus or something. It was very very strange,
it
and
was,
at that moment I know. It's easy to say it now, but genuinely in that moment, as he was running up, I was like, he's not scoring this. Like, there's not a
yeah,
hope. It was an
yeah.
awful penalty. It was worse than Saka's against Real Madrid.
Yeah, I was confident. I was confident. So we think, right, okay, we've been given a lifeline. Let's get back into it. It's like 69th minute, 21 plus injury. Anything can happen, and it did, but not for us. And then Hakimi makes it 2-0. I mean, what was Partey doing on the edge of the box? I don't know. He
Yeah,
lost it. And look, Hakimi, great shot just inside the area. A nice curling shot, nice goal. But actually, what annoyed me most about that goal, and I commented it at the time when it was actually sort of happening, was that we were attacking, and then somehow we went from threatening their box to then back into sort of outside the box, to back into midfield, to Kivior, who then sells Odegaard short, and then they break, and then they, okay, it's a mistake, and then they get the goal, and it was sort of like, it was like we didn't have to do it. Yeah, it was sort of
no,
like that. Again, I don't know why we had to recycle it back so far.
yeah,
And again, so we were sort of the yeah.
yeah.
It
The
was
key,
it
the,
was
the key of your
it was
pass.
our
Like
fault.
we did that pass a few times. Saliba did it in the first half, where we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot from
Yeah,
nowhere. Like we're completely in control of a situation, and then we just have a brain fart, and we got
yeah,
punished again to the max. Party was like, who I thought for the most part had a good game. He was really good in centre midfield, but he had a couple of those, if not a few, of those kind of brain fart moments, and like in that moment, he just looked like he was like exhausted or something. He kind of barely threw a foot at it. He was kind of turned around real slow. He didn't. It was like again an old man not knowing where he was, and then before you know it, Hakimi uses Kivior as the shield to just bend the ball
yeah.
around, and it's a good finish, but completely again, of our own making and our own
Yeah.
undoing. Like,
Yeah, and that's what annoying. A lot of actually PSG's chances were down to us giving them chances to
yeah,
to have. I mean, look, again, not taking anything away. They're a good team and they attack well, but we don't have to help them so much, do we?
no,
So
they don't need our help now.
no, and then in the 76th minute, Saka, um, okay, gets us back in. Trossard chases a long ball down the left hand side. I mean, PSG won that foul, but I think it would have been soft, and I think the ref was fairly consistent with this stuff. I think it was a good ref on the night. I think it was fairly fairly even across the two teams. Breaks to Saka, a bit of a fortunate break. So okay, sometimes things happen, and then he rounds the keeper to score. So I think okay, 15, 20 minutes to go, and actually PSG, even at 3-1 in the tie, they started to sort of look a bit shaky, and they
Yeah.
look right, and then this was the most throwing myself onto the floor moment.
Yeah.
Starboy, go on, tell me
Well,
about your your
in
your
in
experience.
in real time, I was like you, hand in head on the floor, going, "But Kayo, what are you after doing?" Like, I mean, but and it looks worse in slow motion, but it's not that easy a chance. I know he's right in front of the goal. He would have been nearly better off him letting it hit him rather than trying to side foot it, because when you're side footing it and you're running like that, the tendency is to lean back a little and kind of hit the ball over. If that had to come off his shin or his knee or something, it would have just bounced down and into the goal. And then at that point, I didn't realise it until today. I looked back at the highlights today. In my mind, after that game, I thought that Saka chance was like in the 88th minute or something like that. But there was still, at that point, had that gone in, there's 10 minutes plus the 5 minutes of injury time. And PSG and the crowd would have crapped themselves, I think. And that was the moment of the game that I regret the most, because if that goes in, I think we go on and get an equaliser. Whether we go through thereafter, I don't know, but I genuinely believe that we get a third goal. So yeah, it was very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got here, get your head over the ball. And I was just shouting that at my son, because I say that to my son all the time when he's playing football and when he blasts it over. Just get your head over the ball. And but you're right, I think just mishit it and it goes in. Just let it just hit your mid. But yeah, it just took a bounce just before he was about to hit it, and it came across at pace. I mean, it was a brilliant cross by Calafiori coming at pace, but you've got to score. And this was interesting, because a lot of the discourse has been about our finishing and not taking our chances, but our two, I would say, best chances fell to Rice and Saka, and no one's calling them out. So it's always a bit you know disingenuous or
agenda based.
Exactly. So I'm not. I even said, like, Saka missed the best chance of the whole tie. I'd suggest, and I get pelters for that, and it's just facts, isn't it? And again, I'm not calling him out. I can understand. I can rationalize why it happened. It doesn't make me any happier, but it's interesting that that doesn't happen. But then again, you've got certain players with a lot of credit in the bank, and they've earned that credit. So fair play to them. But yeah, it's a shame. And look, no one's going to be hurting more than him. He knows it. And it's just, again, you're just thinking that was it. That was our chance. That was the time that we put the willies up them. And as I said, they've been there before. They've buckled before. And we could have got back into it, but again, we didn't. It didn't, and really nothing happened after that. I think they broke up play, a few subs. Yeah, we just didn't create anything. And do you think we did enough in that final 15 minutes? After Saka scored, could we have done anything different? Did we? Could we have done anything different than what we did? Because I think we brought on, I can't remember the timing of the subs, but White came on, and we already had Trossard, we already had Calafiori.
I think at that stage, because our squad is so thin, and I think it's been evident in a few games lately that, like, at that point we're a bit gassed. Now, the occasion should have gotten them over that, and surely you'd be able to find something in reserve. I was very surprised that we didn't see Nwaneri, because he has a little bit of chaos factor about him. It's clear, well, unless he has a knock, or if there's been some sort of falling out or something, which I highly doubt. I think it's clear that Arteta wanted to lean on experience rather than kind of the young chaos factor. I don't understand of late why he's playing so little. Maybe we could have done that and maybe gone all out, because you could argue, right, at 2-1, or well, I say 2-1 on the night, but 3-1, you've got nothing to lose. You could get beaten 4-1, 5-1 on aggregate. So what? Throw your bones at it and try and get a goal back, and put the shits up them. But yeah, so in a way, I was a little bit not disappointed, surprised at how the last few minutes went. I think the Saka chance, in a way, because PSG got away with it, I think that kind of solidified them a bit. They were like, right, okay, I think they completely should. Yeah, they woke them up and they completely shut up shop, and they controlled the end of that game quite well, because had that gone in, it would have been completely different.
I think take off, a less creative player, a defender. No, go through at the back. Have White, Kivior, and forgotten the
Yeah,
name. White, Saliba, and maybe Calafiori, or White, Kivior, Saliba. Take off a midfielder. Take off Party. You're right. You
yeah,
said, like, we yeah, we had nothing to lose. Lose 3-1, 4-1, 5, doesn't matter. Yeah, he's our third highest scorer. I think he can shoot. There's something in
yeah,
him. You just never know. And I think upon reflection, maybe Arteta might think on that and said, did I give it our best chance? I mean, throughout the whole game and the tie, again, we know it's the margins and the keeping and stuff like that. But that last 15 minutes, you've got to just try something, I feel. So it's
yeah,
a bit, again, it just seems a bit odd and be interesting. These are the sort of things, just decisions like that, you'd love to just understand more why not, and what his rationale was. And I'm sure he's got very good reason in his mind why not.
yeah.
But on to the naked eye,
Yeah, we're never going to hear it. We'll
no,
never be told.
no. So that's it. Look, game over. And talking of Mikel Arteta, this is what he said after the game. When you analyse both games, who has been the best player? The MVP has been the same player, the goalkeeper, and the Champions League is decided in the boxes, and he has won the game for them. And I wonder if he's like making sort of poignant marks in some of this, or some hidden messages, like, the league is decided in the boxes. So, like, we didn't have the striking options.
Yeah,
He goes on to say, because obviously today, after 20 minutes and what happened in London as well, the result should have been very different. So I can take a lot of positives, and I'm very proud of the team. Here's another sort of hidden message, or hidden message in plain sight, whatever you want to call it. We have to arrive in the competition at this stage with a full squad, full available, in best condition. We haven't got that. So he's not making, let's put that to the side. So he's not making excuses. I don't think he does. He's just sort of calling it out. It's still a team that I've seen today against probably one of the best, if not the best in Europe. It gives me such pride, but at the same time, I'm so upset, so annoyed that we didn't manage to do it. So I think he's sort of like, again, putting out these sort of hidden messages, as he's sort of calling out, look, we are short in the attacking areas. And if we had those options, maybe it would have been maybe it would have been different.
yeah.
Who knows?
There were definitely a few uh, board pointed messages definitely within
Yeah.
that, and he was
Yeah.
very emotional after the game. He even said that, what was the phrase he used? He said, I'll talk about this when I'm cooler, or something like that. He said, you know he was so close, that Arsenal team was so close, and he knows he's done all this, and he said it in other press conferences after the game. That we did all this despite everything that's happened. We speak about it as fans, and I'm glad. I know Arteta throughout the season has been the type to kind of say, he's clear not to use any excuses. Like, he's always, we'll find a way. We have who we have. We've the players who play are still very good. Basically, no excuses. But I think he was right to just say, look, with everything that's happened, with all the injuries we've had, we've done incredibly well, and he's right. He's 100% right. And it's just crazy to see the discourse against him that we've seen online. I know you're not on X too much anymore, and I am on Blue Sky and Threads, but I concentrate a bit more on X. And like, it was just incredible to hear people, blame this on Arteta and hoping that he leaves and all this. I couldn't believe the discourse. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say he's not blameless. He's part of the team that lost, and we didn't win. And as like the last 15 minutes, did we do everything to win? Yeah. So there's multiple things. Like, again, he's done an amazing job to get us where we are, to get us to the semi-final. That's progress over 3 years. We were nowhere near this sort of thing, and then last year, first time back in God knows how long, we get to the quarters. A year later, we're in the semis. Could have been very different. So he's making progress. Look, there's a lot of stuff around behind the scenes, that he could do better potentially, and maybe push for more, or make certain decisions. But in terms of how he's got the team to this point, no, it's and with the resources he's had, irrespective of how we got here, it's an incredible job. I think a lot of that is, it's impatience, it's frustration, it's it's a big reaction. It's sort of results driven, sort of analysis and viewpoints. So look, and people are allowed to think what they think. We're all fans.
Yeah,
We'll all support in our own way. But I just think maybe sometimes a bit over the top, but and people have their minds made up, and it is what it is. And look, as for PSG, they are a very good team. They knocked out Liverpool. They've knocked out Villa. They've knocked out us. So what's that? That's I don't know what percentage of the Premier League that is, but that's not. And the top, the top 7 teams, they've knocked out 3 out of the top 7 teams. So there's no shame in that from our point of view. But also, we do have to remember they are a state-owned team with almost unlimited resources. So that's also what we're up against, and it's not an excuse. It's not self-pity. It's just adding a bit of context.
yeah.
They were able to make a 70 million investment in the winter for the Georgian, which has made a big difference for their season. Not everyone can do that, but
Yeah,
just on that.
They're the French Man City, essentially, and we touch a bit because you have a great stat coming up. But I want to touch on as well. Their manager talking about the farmers league. Did you hear his comments or see his comments? But
what was that? I missed that. What did he say?
He was basically, the way everybody says that the French league is a farmers league, and he was kind of saying, it's a farmers league. We've just beaten 3 of the best teams in England, kind of a thing, which made absolutely no sense, because what we're saying is that PSG are a really good side in a farmers league. Had Angers or other French low teams beaten all these English teams, then you'd say yes, okay, it's not a farmers league. Yeah, if anything, he proved his point the point that it is a farmers league even more.
Yeah, I mean, look, they can come into these games fresh. They're not getting stressed in their own league. Look, there's a double-edged sword. If you're not getting pushed, you're not getting stressed, then how do you prepare yourself for playing tough teams? But on the flip side, they're fresh as a day. You looked at their injuries. Okay, Dembele, he came off the bench. I think they've only got one injury. Was it the centre back, and that's it. So and so they're a fresh team. They're able to approach these games full gas with a full set of players. So I think it can work both ways, but I think it certainly benefits them. But no, they're no mugs. But again, and this is also where sports washing works. Everyone's falling in love with PSG and forgetting about everything else. But but there we go. Again, this is not being bitter about it. It's just adding some additional context. But in terms of the stat, so PSG have actually equaled the amount of games. How do we say this? So PSG have now won as many matches, 4, against Premier League clubs in 2025 as Tottenham Hotspur have. So that's a pretty amazing stat from that a team from another league can still match Tottenham's win record in the Premier League. So
that says it all.
So that says it all. And look, I think ultimately we didn't have enough. We sort of didn't do enough to get through. Despite how we showed up, despite the efforts we put in. I mean, had we had our best players available, might have been different. Had players been fit, had others been available, maybe a different story. But I think with what we had, I think we reached our physical and mental limits. Why we got there, is debated for another day. And as we just said, their players were fresher in body and mind, and their players did the job, well, even with a bit of luck. And they did it just a little bit better than ours, and that's what got them over the line. So, there's a lot of talk about our finishing and stuff like that, and I don't think it's just down to that, and it's down to good goalkeeping and just fine margins. So, look, we tried. I think we gave it as a good shot over 2 legs. They're just a very good team, and I think there's no shame in that. And I think we mentioned some stats at the beginning, but even now, last night we had 3.14 xG, which is the most by a team against Paris Saint-Germain in Champions League this season. Over the two games, we had 5.11 xG to their 3.08. So the chances were there, and we're creating them, and just didn't go away. And in terms of how PSG scored, I think 0.07 for Dembele's goal, 0.04 for Ruiz's goal, and 0.07 for Hakimi's goal.
Yeah,
So
and that says it all. That says it all.
yeah, yeah. But I guess most goals have low XGs, from where they scored. But yeah, it's just the way it goes. So look, I think we either, as they say, you either win or you learn, and I think we've learned a lot from this game and from our run in the Champions League. And as I said, compared to last year, Porto versus Porto against PSV in the round of 16, the contrast is amazing. Bayern Munich against Madrid in quarterfinals, again, progress. So this is where we want to be. We want to be competing against the best clubs in the world in the best club football competition, and it's bloody hard.
Yeah,
And for many of the top teams, progression to the final, is not linear, and teams take their time. You look at Man City, how long it took them. Look at PSG. Even Marquinhos, their defender's been tried it on 11 seasons and got nowhere. So,
yeah.
incrementally,
We
we're
can get
getting
there.
there, and
Yeah, and
yeah,
another little part of last night as well as the Bayern Munich game last season, is there's just another little bit more hurt and disappointment in the players' bank now as well. Like they won't. David Raya was crying on the pitch last night. All our players were devastated. That's a memory they don't want to have again. They don't want that. Disappointment. So that's another little element of it as well. As you say, if you you learn. Yeah, if you don't win, you learn, and
yeah.
that's another element of it.
Yeah, and learning can be painful. I mean,
Yeah,
as we experienced last night, and like this season as a whole. And I think just people's tolerance for learning, going through the pain, is a bit mixed amongst the fan base. Some are more ready to accept it than others. But again, I don't think we should lose our heads, bin everything just yet. And I'm not saying everything is rosy. There is definitely work to be done. But I think we are on the verge of something special.
yeah,
I think we know how to fix this. I don't think it's complicated. Attacking reinforcements, I think, will give us just that extra edge. So I can't get angry about that. I can just be hopeful. It's going to obviously hurt in the short term, but I can be hopeful that we're making progress.
yeah,
Just maybe not as fast as some people like. So
yeah.
there we go. Anything else? Any other reflections on the game, on the tie, our Champions League campaign?
Well, no, just to reiterate what I said at the top, that we've a lot to be proud of from this team, considering everything that has happened. And I think rather than look at it as a failure, and look, ultimately, whoever doesn't win the competition, it's a failure, But I think I think there's been so many positives that we can take forward, as you just said, and I already can't wait for next season. So long as we have the required summer
Yeah,
in the transfer market. So yeah.
yeah. And if we make top 5, so which brings us on nicely to Liverpool away, the Sunday game on Sky at 4:30. What are you looking forward to, and not looking forward to,
I'm looking
as far
forward.
as the game's concerned?
I'm looking forward to everybody, the media included, us expecting to get a thumping at Anfield. But I think the irony of all ironies, I actually think we're going to beat Liverpool this weekend for a few
Wow.
reasons. Because look, they won't. Maybe this is me being very naive, but they've won the league. They just got beaten by a really poor Chelsea side, which on a normal day they'd have taken care of business, no problem whatsoever. And we won't want to go there and kind of make a show of ourselves. I'm not saying we'll go there and thump them or anything like that, but I have a sneaky feeling that we're going to go there and at least get a result. I'm not looking forward to the smelly. Us greeting them onto the pitch as champions, the guard of honor. Which, to be fair, like deep down, I could not give two shits about. Like it's a silly little tradition. And look, Liverpool won the league. Maybe they deserve it, but I just don't like that visual.
Yeah. No. I mean, look, fair play to them. We'll go through the protocols. Maybe it'll be like something for, like, again, another thing in the memory bank to say, right, I don't want to do that again. something to help drive them and things like that. Any little extra percentage. So it is what it is. They've won the league. They've won it by a long way. Fair play to them. You know, they've deserved it. I would suggest. You know, but I think they were anyway. They were helped along the way, and things went their way. So but fair play to them. It is what it is, and look, they, a bit like our pains that we're going through at the moment. They've been through that in a way. I'm not sure I could cope with what they've gone through, having to deal with Man City. Getting 90 plus points and still not
97
winning the
points and
league.
not winning the
90,
league. Yeah.
exactly. So look, fair play to them. And it is what it is. So look, as far as what I'm looking forward to, interested to see how we react to the PSG defeat, but mostly the final whistle. But not sure I can recall a game I least want to watch than this one. It's I will do. Otherwise, the pod will be quite difficult to do.
Yeah.
But just. Yeah, and look, I'm not looking forward to it being live on Sky, the main game of the weekend, and you just got the dumbass pundits making lazy assessments of the Arsenal season and making judgments and all the nonsense that they'll just be making this like lowest common denominator analysis, and it's just sort of like if only all the channels did what Prime do, that you can just have the crowd noise only.
Yeah.
But then we'd have to listen to all the bloody Scouse fans taking the piss out of Arsenal and all the rest of it. So maybe just turn the volume off and there we go. And it's an amazing with actually when you watch football without the volume, how unemotional it is.
Yeah. There was actually a few sections last night of the match that the commentators were annoying me, and I probably just for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. But then because it was so poor, I was sitting in my sitting room in the quiet, I had to turn it back on.
Yeah, you need something to react to. Yeah. So how do you think we'll approach the game? I mean, in terms of the lineup, in terms of just how do you think we'll approach it? How we'll play and the lineup?
I think we'll go strong. Obviously, we've been resting players up to now, for our Champions League campaign, which is now over. We bloody need points. Arteta will want to finish strong. He'll want to finish second. He won't want to be going into that Southampton game with the risk of us finishing 4th or 5th or 6th even. I don't think it'll get to that. But I think he'll go strong. I think we'll see a very similar lineup to what started against PSG. You might see maybe Ranieri starting or getting more minutes at least. And I think the players will want to give us something. I think they'll want to, give us a little boost after what happened last night. So, and I see you have here as well that we have the record against the top 6 to protect as well. That's a nice little record. So, I think we'll approach it, very 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 front-footed is the way I'd say.
Yeah. Wednesday to Sunday, so that's not massive again. And again, it just depends how much physical and mental fatigue there is into the team. Again, I don't think I have a huge amount of choice in certain players, but maybe the players want to prove something, make a point. Don't know. I mean, the travelling fans will be there. You don't want to just throw in the towel. You're right. We still need points to secure top 5, even though I think we're 98% there. It's still not a done. You're right. We want to give a good account of ourselves. So I think we'll go strong. Saka wasn't too sure how fit he looked yesterday. So maybe you have one area there, or Trossard comes in. So he's my one doubt. Other than that, maybe Calafiori for MLS. Don't know what we do there because you got Salah on the left. So look, it'll be a party atmosphere at Liverpool. They've got nothing to lose. They can just be free and easy, and we'll see. I put an interesting question down here because it could go pear shaped potentially. Would you take a 1-0 loss now?
I could never ever ever sign off on a 1-0 loss, regardless of our situation. I just can't do it.
Okay.
No, I genuinely think we've a good chance to beat Liverpool. If Liverpool needed 3 points to win the title, I'd probably think a bit different. But I just think the way the game is set up now, and you're right, Liverpool can be free and easy, but but that can go either way. That can either make you play brilliantly without having to try, without the because you don't have the pressure. But it can also make you very kind of laid back and lazy. So like what happened with them against Chelsea. So I'm
Yeah.
I think. I don't think it's going to be as. I don't think it's going to be a carnage
No.
as it might be.
No, well, look, we are still a good team defensively. You know, we don't give up. You know, as I said, we haven't let in more than 2 goals for ages. We don't give up many goals. It feels like it at the moment. We are the best defensive team in the Premiership. It hasn't felt like it because we're just giving away 1 or 2 goals here and there and all
Mm.
the rest of it. But so look, no, I think we're still a very good team. You know, I don't think we're going to ship a load in. It's just the after effects of the PSG game.
Yeah.
You know how we react to that. You know the energy levels and so on and so. Look, Man City play Southampton. So the goal difference might be in threat there. And if they win that and we lose, then we're sort of tied on points. And then Newcastle have got Chelsea on the Sunday. Nottingham Forest play Leicester, and Aston Villa play Bournemouth. So yeah, still going to be interesting in as far as the top 5 is concerned. So okay, so your prediction, our 3-0 win.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm gonna predict a cheeky 2-1 win.
2-1 win. We're going to score 2 goals. Wow.
Yes.
Uh,
Kieran Tierney.
Kieran Tierney. Yeah. Sorry. I think we're going to lose 1 or 2-0. Yeah, I
It's
don't know, maybe
understandable
one.
though. It's hard to
Yeah,
argue. It's hard to argue with
yeah.
that. Like,
You know, it's what I think will happen. It's not what I want to happen. So,
yeah,
and I hope I'm proved wrong, which I have been on many occasions. So there we go. So look, I know maybe I'm looking forward to seeing my prediction be wrong. There we go. That's what I'm looking forward to, and your
yeah,
prediction being right. So look, it's good to end on a well, I was going to say a fun note, but I just predict us losing to Liverpool. So
yeah,
I think it's just good. I think it's just good to end the pod. I think that's the main takeaway I'm having from this. So look, Ian, thank you for joining me today and talking us through the game and all the rest of it and the hope for the future. So thank you for that, and then please let people know where they can find you.
yeah. No problem, Tabs. It was good to, as I always say, it's good to come to church and get all this out. People can find me everywhere at Art Cannon Picks. I'm actually going to go on a little run now of I've loads of cannons in my drafts ready to send. So I'm going to go on a cannon posting spree. I've been saving them for match days, like hoping that it bring luck for our Champions League win. Didn't happen. So yeah, that's where you'll find me.
No, indeed. Well, look, you can follow us at the Grove AFC on Threads and Blue Sky mainly. Our next pod will be post Liverpool, pre Newcastle. God, a whole week between games. What's that like? And look, if you enjoy what you hear or not, then please like, subscribe, drop us a note. Had some nice reactions to the sort of immediate response that I posted yesterday and so on. So look, thank you once again. If you made it this far, I'm not sure many people had the appetite to relive that game, but if you did, thank you. And look, what's done is done. Nothing we can do about it now. We just need to find some energy for the final 3 games of the season, secure top 5, and look forward to a summer of massive transfer activity, we hope. And just one final thought before we sign off. So Arsenal were league runners up 3 seasons in a row, 1999 to 2001. FA Cup semi-finalists in 99 and runners up in 2001. We were knocked out of all 3 cup competitions in 2000 on penalties, and we lost the UEFA Cup final in 2000. Then we went on to win 2 Premier League titles and 3 FA Cups in the next 4 seasons. We go again. Vamos, as Arteta might say. So until the next time, come on you Gunners.